I'm going to share with you guys 5 Pokemon I'll be using in the solo queue to help climb, and I'm also going to give you a 2-minute tutorial on each of these Pokemon and how I'm playing them in the solo queue. 1 attacker, 1 defender, 1 speedster, 1 all-rounder, and 1 supporter. So let's start off with our attacker, Inteleon. The build for Inteleon would be Acrobatics and Liquidation. I would be going Slick Spoon, Wise Glasses, and a Choice Specs. In the emblem loadout, you can click this here. This is on Unite DB. It's black emblems and green emblems, which is essentially extra special attack, extra cooldown reduction. Now, if we go over to Unite API, which gives us a bit of a data breakdown of the game, Inteleon has got a very, very high pick rate. It's also got quite a nice win rate. I generally ignore this third column here, the bias. Okay, 62% is a little bit irrelevant to me. It's got a 52% win rate with Acrobatics and Liquidation. And, you know, the item that does the best is the eject button. It's got about a 53 win rate. So it's honestly, it's in a very, very strong spot. And the pick rate, unfortunately, is 35% because it is a very strong Pokemon. And that's why it's got this high pick rate, because it can do very, very well in lane. And it's just a very strong pick, right? So my attacker would absolutely be Inteleon. If I jump over to my all-arounder, I'm going to say Mimikyu. Now, in solo queue, because Mimikyu is just so, I would go top lane with it. I would be going this particular build here, which is Play Rough because of its recent buff, and Shadow Sneak. Pre-patch, Mimikyu is not that great. Post-patch, Mimikyu is a little bit overtuned, and I think the invincibleness of Play Rough is a little bit unacceptable, but I'm having fun, and I'm sure other people are. So I'd go Attack Weight, I'd go Aeos Cookie, and I would go Curse Bangle, and generally I would be going with a full heal or an eject button, but I know that some people are running an X attack, which is totally fine as well. If we look at the data on how Mimikyu is performing, this data is pre-patch stuff, so it's really not going to give you, it says 42% win rate. It's been buffed, okay? It's doing a lot better. So we can't really pay attention to that data too much. The third Pokemon I would recommend is Dodrio, and I'll be taking this Pokemon into the jungle. So I've given you a bottom laner, I've given you a top laner, now I'm giving you a jungler. This Pokemon doesn't necessarily require any support. However, support is always going to be worthwhile. I'd be going an Attack Weight, a Razor Claw, and a Float Stone, regardless of what build you run. The second skill is always going to be Jump Kick. Generally, I prefer Drill Peck. However, if you're going into heavy CC, you can be comfortable with using Tri Attack. So Jump Kick is always that movement skill. Tri Attack against heavy CC. So if you're up against a lot of Clefable and Ninetales and Pikachu, and if you kind of get a little bit too close to them, and they can CC you when you're right at their face, and generally I would avoid them. So this is a better kiting skill. Be mindful, this is a very hard Pokemon to use. It's very challenging to get a grip of, so if you're not good with Dodrio and you're uncomfortable with going to the middle area, this Pokemon is not going to be doing any solo queue carry for you. But if you're good with going jungle and you want to get a grip of Dodrio, play some bot matches with it, take it into the practice mode, understand how these skills work, watch a couple of guides. Dodrio will get you up in the ranks, I promise you. And if we have a look at how Dodrio performs in the meta, is quite good. Okay, he's got a consistently high win rate, about 51%. Drill Peck and Jump Kick has a 51.5. Tri Attack and Jump Kick has about a 58% win rate. That's pretty high, but there's a bit of a lower sample space. Potentially, I'll be going full heal, both builds. You can do some pretty good stuff with this. Now, if we're considering defenders, okay, if we're considering defenders, let's go to meta here, right? And you can look at the win rate and the pick rate of each Pokemon. I generally think Slowbro, he's the one with the highest pick rate. He's got a decently high win rate here. This is the Pokemon, right? Now, the build depends. It's always going to be EXP share. It's always going to be Focus Band. Generally, I like to run Surf and Amnesia, but I know people, they get really divided over Surf and Scald for whatever reason. I don't care. Use whatever skill. However, the battle item for me is absolutely going to be Eject Button. I think Eject Button is the way to go because late game, you can Eject Button towards the person you're trying to get your Unite move off and Unite move them, and that can be very pivotal in that late game scenario. So if we go over to Slowbro here on Unite, so I'm bouncing between Unite Dev or Unite API and Unite DB, and Unite DB give us these builds, and Scald Amnesia, you could go with, this particular build. Generally, it's EXP share, Focus Band, and I like running an AOS cookie because I like getting that extra attack in. A lot of people like running a spoon. A lot of people like running a, you know, some kind of a damage item. Personally, I don't see much value in it. The other item I think is really good, especially if you're running Scald, is the anti-healing item, because it does a lot of AoE and it puts anti-healing on quite a large number of Pokemon late game. I think that can be very valuable as well. But yeah, that's Slowbro, right? And the supporter that I would be using, right? The supporter, a lot of people say you can't carry with support, you shouldn't run support in SoloQ, blah, 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 blah. To some degree, I actually do accept that and I hear it. However, if there's one Pokemon that you can do it with, and there's one Pokemon that is going to get better as the game ages, it's this guy right here. It is Hoopa. Hoopa is the Pokemon you want to learn. It's the Pokemon you want to understand. It's always going to be viable in solo queue and competitive. This is the build right here. Hyperspace Hole and Phantom Force. And I would be going EXP share and Focus Band and Muscle Band. So double band EXP share. Generally, I prefer the eject button, and you've got the emblem loadout that we could be running here. It doesn't really matter. I've got 7 red, 4 white. Honestly, it's not a big deal. Okay, if you want to do that attack speed, put the 7 red on, put the 4 white on, throw the rapid fire scarf on and get rid of the focus band. It's not a big deal. The most important thing when you're using Hoopa is stay alive, put those portals down, have map awareness and be mobile around the map. And make sure that you're supporting your team and using your Unite move at key pivotal points. So let's go in a little micro 2-minute kind of tutorial on each of these 5 Pokemon. And if you find this sort of video helpful, drop it a like, let me know in the comments, because I think this is it's a different way to give more quick information on a variety of Pokemon in a particular patch in Pokemon Unite. So if you like this sort of video, let me know, drop a like, and let's continue on. So let's start with Hoopa, a little 2-minute guide of Hoopa. Let's put the clock on, let's get started. The moves that you're going to be using is Hyperspace Hole and Phantom Force. Now early game, you can use this Astonish that helps stun the enemy. Generally, I like to use my Hyperspace Hole and Astonish to be supporting my team. I'm not doing it to deal damage to the enemy team. And bonus points if you can put your Hyperspace Hole into the bushes, because if you put it into the bush, the enemy team doesn't know that hole is there. And that's very valuable because your team knows it's there, the enemy team doesn't, so they can kite back into the bush in a fight and get that reset without the enemy knowing. So that's a very, very good tip. Obviously, there's a bit of a assumption that your team is going to be okay with using the portals. There's an understanding that they're going to take them when they're low. Sometimes this is not going to happen in solo queue, but in my personal experience, and people like to say I seem to queue with better people than everyone else, which just doesn't statistically make any sense. However, you can use this Pokemon well. Generally, people know how this Pokemon works. They're just getting used to it. So as the game ages, people are going to get a lot better at using Hoopa on their team. You can see here, I've got that Astonish and that Hyperspace Hole to help that Lapras get out. You want to play this Pokemon like a supporter. You need to be helping your team. Now, you want to use your Unite move 2 times in the game. The first time is going to be at that second objective, and that's because you're behind on experience. And you're only probably going to be level 9 by about that 5-minute mark. So that's that second bottom objective. And the next time you're going to be using your Unite move is at the Rayquaza fight. These are the 2 times that you're going to be using your Unite move. It's very, very important that you get 2 very useful Unite moves off, because generally when you Hoopa Unite, your team has the advantage because you've got positioning, you've got your whole team there, and for the other team to be able to counter that, they have to be in position. And when you're playing solo queue, that honestly, it actually very rarely happens. So make sure you're taking advantage that this is a fact that Hoopa can do by himself. It's portals, 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 never forget that. Now let's have a look at using Mimikyu. Mimikyu is this all-rounder. You take him to the top lane, you want to get your stacks in. You can see here, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm running to the enemy side of the goal zone nice and early in the game, and because I've got that AOS cookie and that attack weight on, the sooner you get these stacks in, the better, and it's a lot easier to get these stacks in at the start of the game rather than later on in the game. So prioritize these nice and early, considering you've got that double stacking item on. Now I'm having a look at the enemy health, and I can see that's not quite that high. So, not quite that low, so I'm not prioritizing killing them, I'm prioritizing getting the farm. You want to hit this level 5 because Play Rough is the skill that does amazing work. If you've got this skill in combination with Shadow Sneak, you can see you can have a lot of fun doing this kind of combo here. You can get onto them with the Shadow Sneak, and then you use the Play Rough to go invincible, and then normally by that time you've got the Shadow Sneak and the Play Rough on cooldown again, and it does quite a lot of damage. You can catch up to them. It's very hard for the enemies to get away, and you can increase the distance that Shadow Sneak does onto the enemy if you cast the skill through the wall or through the tall grass. Right now, as you can see, you can do quite a lot of work here, but the moment you miss one of your Play Rough or the enemy kind of latch on and they're escaping, you're in a very vulnerable position. So you can try and be as good as you can there. You can use this skill. You can see that when you cast it through the grass and the walls, the range increases, and the combo you generally want to go for is cast it on, Play Rough, then launch straight into the Unite move, and then you want to get that Shadow Sneak on because that's going to do extra damage to the enemy, get the Play Rough off, and you can just do some crazy fun stuff. And most importantly, you can kind of just dash into the Ray Pit from a very safe position. From my understanding, you can go in from a lot further out than I was just then. You can go in from your own jungle if you go over the walls and the grass. So it's a very, very good Pokemon. It can snuff the Rayquaza, and it's definitely a Pokemon that can do a lot of strong work if you're not careful. Guys, you can have a lot of fun using Mimikyu. Okay, 2 minutes, Dodrio, let's go. So you want to take this Pokemon to the jungle at these bees. You want to drill peck this farm back towards you, and bonus if you can get an enemy there, because that's going to do a lot of damage to them. Now, what you're ideally looking to do is get some stacks in, but your fundamental role as the gank is to make sure that your lane wins. Don't stick around for too long, and make sure that you're getting these combos off when you're using your Unite move. You want to make sure you get that Unite move off. You do a lot of drill pecks, you've got a lot of mobility, and you just want to make sure that you're consistently displacing the enemy team, right? So you can do that jump kick over the top, get that drill peck in, use those boosters to do big damage, and you can just be a real annoying force for the enemy team. There you can see I single-handedly just destroyed 3 of them, right? It's a very, very good trade-off. Even though the eye died, my team's able to clean up and do some good things at that particular fight there. And when you're using Dodrio at the Rayquaza fight, this is the great utility of this Pokemon. I'm not looking to backcap. That's not what you want to do. You want to make sure that you're flanking the enemy team in your initial engage. You want to pick off one of their key Pokemon, and then you use that Unite move to, you know, put yourself in a better position to make sure you can get a lot of drill pecks going. And you can see I get 2 KOs there. I can use my jump kick and my full heal to get myself out of a tricky situation, and then I'm using my drill peck to get some healing up onto the enemy Pokemon. We kill 4 of them, and the bonus that we're able to do here is that we can get this score in, and you don't have to score all the points, right? You can get a little score in, and you've got the mobility to get away from the enemy team. This is the biggest utility about using Dodrio, and you can use that drill peck to get that healing up onto the enemy team. So you can score partially to make sure that your team maintains the score lead. You don't necessarily need to do this objective. And here you can see we're just getting a kill, we get low health, there's no point us ripping, we just go off and we try and make sure that we are scoring to make sure our team maintains the score lead. This is very, very cool. It's kind of unique about Dodrio, and you're going to win a lot of games of Pokemon Unite playing this character like this. The Rayquaza was not touched, but our team was able to win purely on score. Let's go to our next character, which is Inteleon. Inteleon, you want to make sure you get that secure with Water Gun early game every single time. I personally like using the Shedinja Doll to stop a Pokemon from using its combo so I can get away, and then we're able to get some key KOs and make sure we're staying in our lane and we're staying defensive. You could say an eject button would do a similar role, but personally I found the Shedinja Doll is very, very valuable for me, and we're able to get a lot of KOs, and it'd be good if I could hit some of my skills. But as you can see, the difference between using a Shedinja Doll successfully and just delaying the inevitable is kind of what separates a really good Inteleon player from someone who's maybe just mediocre at the character. Now the skill set you're going to be using is this Liquidation, obviously with the acrobatics, and the biggest utility about using Inteleon is this Unite move. The Unite move is amazing. When you pop it, you're going to be getting that crit counter coming up every single second, and you can see the crits underneath your health bar. They come up as a blue mark. Liquidation, you will utilize 1, and each of your attacks will use another one, right? The way that you can gain them is you stand near walls or you use acrobatics. Now here you can see the Shedinja Doll coming in very clutch for me here. I've kind of overstepped my my mark. I'm level 15. I use my Shinichiro to get away, and I'm saved by the buddy barrier from the Eldegoss and the healing, but I was able to acrobatics over the top. If their team completely killed me, I probably would have been team wiped here. I popped my Unite move because I can see their team is not in the Rayquaza pit, and my team was. And that was just to stall out the enemy team and make sure they weren't able to get the secure on the Rayquaza. Once again, you can see this Pokemon is incredibly strong, especially late game when you get those, attack or those crit counter stacks in. This Pokemon can do a lot of work, it can do a lot of damage, and it will win your lane. Guys, it's pretty simple to use. It's fairly point and click, but understanding a macro is very important. I've got a macro guide of Inteleon. Make sure if you're learning this Pokemon, check this one out, but that's a general overview of how to use this character. Now let's have a look at our next character that we're going to be using. This is Slowbro. With Slowbro, you can get water guns secure. It's pretty good. In this particular game, I've gone Scald. Scald or Surf, it's really the same kind of outcome. Now your role with this Pokemon is to make sure that your bottom lane goal zone does not get broken. It's super important. Even if the enemy team take this objective early, you cannot let the enemy team then steamroll your team by breaking and getting that score experience. But the most important thing for it is that Rayquaza fight, that your team has got that goal zone advantage in the bottom lane. If you're utilizing Slowbro properly and you're playing this Pokemon like a true tank, like the tank that he is, that's what you're able to do. There you can see, to initiate this fight, I've ejected over their team to get the Greninja with my Unite move. That's very valuable, and that's what you want to be using your eject and your Unite move for at these key pivotal fights. Now in this particular fight, our team kind of got wiped there. I probably shouldn't be on full health. I probably should have been more frontline after I initiated on the Greninja, so that's probably a little bit of point of improvement for myself. But as you can see, this bottom goal zone is on the points where it should be. We're sustaining in this fight. We're back here to help out our Blastoise, who's been sustaining in the fight as well. And here we are, we're ready for round 2. There would be no round 2 of this fight. If this goal zone was broken, they would have the advantage. They would definitely be getting this objective. So it's very valuable to make sure that you're hanging onto your goal zones and you're doing good things there. Now we managed to get some kills on their team. This objective is still up. We've got 2 dead. We're looking to press a little bit more forward here, and that's what I want to be doing, and we're a little bit more successful when I try and frontline as that Slowbro. I'm tanking a lot of those hits. Our team secures that objective and we stay alive there. So very valuable from our team to get that secure. And you can see at about that 3-minute mark, we can break their bottom tier completely. We get a nice little overcap, and this is only possible because we've maintained our, our winning advantage in that bottom lane. Guys, if you got some value from this video, drop it a like, let me know in the comments. This is a super speedy tutorial and 5 Pokemons, the SoloQ carries. Good luck on the Masters.